Hi everyone, welcome to day 27 of our journey with the Celtic Saints, and today is the life of a gentleman called St Adamnan, Adamnan, and he lived as the next generation on from St Columba on the island of Iona. In fact, he followed him on as abbot of the monastery there. He's thought to have been actually related to Columba, and there are two or three things that we're really grateful to Adamnan for. The first is that he gave us a very early life of St Columba and shared with us something of Columba's prayer life, of how he saw his understanding of faith and how he engaged with building the monastery in that part of the world. The second is that Adamnan was very impressed by a bishop from Gaul who travelled extensively through the Holy Land and then travelled all the way across Europe up to Iona, and having spent time with him, Adamnan set down to actually write a work in the natural language of English, so that everybody could understand something of these holy places, as he called them. In other words, to understand the life of Jesus that bit deeper, where these stories were told in their context. And that particular work was really pivotal to the work of a gentleman who came after him called the Venerable Bede, who we thank for being one of the earliest writers of English in our history. And the Venerable Bede took so much of Adamnan's work, particularly around the holy sites of Israel and indeed many of the saints in England. And we got Adamnan to thank for all that. And lastly, Adamnan travelled across from Iona to Lindisfarne and down through Northumbria to Whitby. And it was there that he came across the practice of sharing Easter and indeed so much of the church as we now know it from the Roman culture. As the Roman church moved north from Canterbury, and they had this big council in Whitby probably 20 or 30 years before Adamnan turned up. Adamnan was a great person of trying to build unity, so he took the Roman culture and Roman dating of Easter back to his monks in Iona. At first they weren't having it, they didn't agree with him, so he took himself off to Ireland where he shared the same message, and many of the churches there adopted the practice of Easter at a different date, but also so much of the Roman culture that we know through the life of the church in the Anglican Church today. Adamnan then went back to Iona, where he tried for a second time to encourage his brothers to hold to church unity, but they turned him down a second time, and then sadly he passed away. But we remember Adamnan for being somebody who then gave of himself, first of all because of his love of Christ, his deep passion for Jesus, and trying to share him in the everyday things and ordinary things of life, and then recording so much that actually we have then built upon over the years. And we think about maybe people who have inspired and encouraged us in our journey of faith, particularly if we've ever had the chance of going on pilgrimage, say to Iona or to Jerusalem and Israel or further afield. But those people who give of themselves, the archaeologists, the historians, the Bible translators, those who help to enable these passages of scripture, and more importantly, the person of Jesus, to come alive. And a young couple called Sergio and Rhoda, who I've posted links to on a number of occasions because I find them a really inspiring couple to help us understand so many of these places by actually walking there and standing there and sharing the story so that everyone can see. Well, they have a lot to thank to Adamnan and many other pilgrims who have walked before them doing exactly the same thing. I'll post a little video of Sergio and Rhoda's for today because it's one of where they realised that the lost church of the apostles was actually discovered by a person probably about 50 to 100 years after Adamnan, who himself went all the way to the Holy Land and then came back. And a young Christian nun in a convent, I'll get it right in a minute, in a convent, wrote his story down. And because of that, we were able to find this lost church of the apostles, where in Bethsaida, where Simon Peter and Andrew and James and John all came from. So these things matter, But more importantly, what really matters is how do we enable the gospel and the person of Jesus to live both in our lives, by allowing and doing our research, our Bible study, but allowing the person of Jesus to sit next to us as we do so. We can't get anybody to do it for us, really. We have to be willing to put the time and the effort in, just as Adamnan was, as he wrote these words down from that Celtic bishop. Actually, he was allowing Jesus to sit near him and indeed to breathe into his heart. And I think this is what happens for so many people as they both watch videos, read books, and seek to enable the scriptures to live within us. So may that be true for all of us this day, and may we be willing to pass it on and share it with others. Have a good rest of the day. God bless. Bye for now.